Welcome to the Centurion's Path, a podcast about the life and the trials and tribulations of those who serve. This podcast is about the heroes who protect our communities. To truly understand the path of the protector, tune in with AJ DeAndrea and John McDonald, two nationally known leaders who live the Centurion's Path every day.
This episode of the Centurion's Path podcast is sponsored by GoSafe. Check out GoSafeNow.com. Welcome to this episode of the Centurion's Path podcast. We're still in Canada. We've been here all day long talking to really cool people, and we're going to be talking to Randy Tarter today. Direct action, combat performance. What is that? What do you do?
Sure. Yeah, Direct Action Combat Performance it's an organization that provides training in the tactical realm. So tactical pistol, carbine, firearms training, defensive tactics, combative self-defense, and CQB. So interior combat is primarily the three areas that I dive in the most. Offer a little bit of mentorship for young men who are, have aspirations to seek employment in the next level of whatever they might be doing, whether that's general patrol officers getting into tactical world or Canadian Armed Forces soldiers that are trying to get into the special forces realm. I help mentor those guys as well. A little bit of mental resiliency stuff, a little bit of physical preparation. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what Direct Action represents.
That's pretty cool. It's almost everyone we should talk to, right? It's all about giving back. Yeah. It's about creating that platform, giving back, helping people, pushing them forward. So, and we just talked about it right before we started, right? And so that's kind of cool. What's a little bit of your background? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? And
grew up in East Coast of Canada. So I grew up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Born and raised there. Mom and dad, two older brothers is what I grew up with. Played a lot of sports growing up as a kid. Graduated high school. I contemplated going to the university route. However, academically was not the area that I shined the most. So I found myself in the military. Joined the military right out of high school. So basic training. I turned 19 years old. Did that for 21 years. Of those 21 years, I served 16 years with an organization called Joint Task Force 2. Yeah, so that's where I spent the majority of my career before retiring at the end of 2019 and then starting the business.
Wow, that's a hell of a career. We could probably talk the next week about what you've done. So very honored to have you here.
Thank you.
And you were teaching yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday and today.
Yeah, we were going to grab you yesterday, and I'm like, no, he's in the course, and I was going to come find you, and then everybody hijacks you. So I would love to be just been a fly on the wall and some of the stuff you're doing. Where do you see the trends? What do you see the trends as far as that dynamic training that you're doing, kind of where it's headed?
The trend that I see the most with municipal law enforcement, provincial, and federal, very similar, and it's a hesitation. It's a hesitation based on optics of how things are viewed by others.
Without question.
So hesitation is the biggest trend, where guys see that a solution is in front of them and they question what they should be doing because of a few factors. And one is, will they have support from top cover?
Right. Or
will they be ridiculed by the public for doing their job? So I see a consistent trend with hesitation in terms of going hands-on. Right? So we're in a dynamic scenario where things are happening and unfolding in a chaotic environment. For us that have walked those shoes, we know that making those decisions in a split second are not as easy as some people like to think they are.
Right.
So what I see is guys are, they're trained well. They have the training. It's the hesitation, and I do think that part of that is from training, but also part of that is from the ramifications that they're concerned about beyond the receiving end from it.
Yeah, we've seen that, just explode really since 2020 as far as ridicule, second guessing, and then legislation that's come in. And so everyone in my own state in Colorado, there has been, I guess I could say this, an actual assault on law enforcement, right? On what we can and cannot do. And so when you've got these young guys, they question it, right? One, they question, should they even be doing the job?
Right.
Right? Is it worth doing the job? And I think the ones that are doing it for the right reasons, right? They stay, but training like you're providing is what allows them to de-escalate situations faster,
Great.
We all know, right? When it is chaos and we let it continue, it becomes harder then to control that, right? And I've seen a lot of agencies, to my dismay, walk away from some of that hands-on. You know, we want to talk about de-escalation, but going hands-on is de-escalating.
I agree.
Would you agree? Yeah,
I would agree.
Right?
I agree that the form of de-escalation, if we've read it in a situation where, you know, a ballistic response is not required, you know, the person is unarmed, but maybe they're emotionally disturbed, or maybe, you know, they have a chip on their shoulder and today's the day they don't want to give a police officer a hard time. The sooner we go hands-on, the sooner we get this person in handcuffs, the sooner we get home to our loved ones, the sooner the situation is solved. The hesitation is, once that decision is made, trying to de-escalate with further verbal commands, it prolongs the inevitable, which is eventually we're going to go hands-on anyway. Right. So what I'm trying to help guys with is bridging the gap between, we've made the decision, now action that decision and put it together.
Right.
And part of the motivation behind naming the business direct action is about that. It's about taking direct action. We see a situation, we have a solution to it because we're well trained, because we have confidence in our ability to use our hands and put it to fruition.
Right.
And the sooner, the safer it's going to be for everybody.
I got to wonder if there's any studies out there that talk about the hesitation factor and the number of officers getting hurt or killed. I mean, we've seen this explosion right now of assault on police officers, and how much of that comes from that hesitation.
I think too, like, you know, the douchebags and the individuals out there that are going through a hard time, and, you know, they see what's going on in terms of ridicule. They're aware that
question.
Now police officers are hesitant to take action, and for that they become empowered.
Right.
So it's gone a little bit backwards, in just my opinion, in terms of, okay, we need to regain the initiative. We need to kind of set the tone and let people know, listen, there is right, and then there's the opposite side of right. Mm-hmm. The sooner we let people know these are the consequences for your actions, and you know, the sooner that we put that implement those actions, the sooner I believe that's going to spread, where these bad guys or these people with evil intentions, they're going to realize, if I step out of line, there's consequences.
Right.
I'm not sure I want to be on the receiving end of those consequences.
And we do it bad. We have fallen where we allow those things to grow. I don't know how you feel about this or what your thoughts are, but towards the end of my career, I saw that there was a heavy, that officers would rely on technology and thinking that is going to work. Ultimately, you still have to go hands-on, right? Yeah. And that reliance on some of that technology is out there, not to name them, but we could all go down the line, right? I think we all know kind of what I'm talking about. That fails. There's propensity for that to fail.
Yep.
And that reliance, I think, creates a false sense of security.
Great.
And I think our skills get worse because we think, well, I don't need to do this, right? And then you're up against, we always talk about the suspect always has a say, right? Yep. And if that person chooses not to be compliant or is able to defeat whatever type of technology we're trying to use, we still have to go hands-on.
Yeah.
Are you experiencing that in some of your training and what you're doing? And maybe might be the wrong word, but again, we're just kind of on the fly here. Maybe the deprogramming of that to say, hey, look, no, there's a part here where we need to be mentally prepared, physically prepared to actually go hands-on, and we can actually calm the situation quicker.
Yeah. I think we put a lot of emphasis and a lot of heat and light on tech, and you know, tech has its place for sure. I wouldn't suggest for a second that it doesn't. Well, when it comes to the physical attributes of actually, you know, apprehending a subject that needs it, you know, we would all love to have more confidence in one realm or another. We don't just wake up one day with more confidence than we had yesterday. We gain confidence through repetition, and you know, some people are reluctant to get involved with DT for an example, out of fear of injury, out of fear of demonstrating a limitation that they're, you know, not proud of. So in other words, they don't want to have exposed what they're not so good at.
Right.
So rather than doing it and building confidence and getting better at it, they will find a way to avoid it.
Sure.
So some of it is on the members, some of it is on the officer to take ownership of that and become more confident by doing it. And some of it is a little less reliance on the tech, right? So sure, it'd be great to send a drone into a building that maybe we're gonna apprehend at some point, and so that fails. Then what?
Yeah, you still have to go in there. You still have to be there.
And even if that tech is successful, and we still have now we have a more clear picture of what's on inside. At the end of the day, you're still going in, and you're still going hands on. It's just going to be prolonged.
Exactly.
Well, so yeah, I do think a bit of a heavier emphasis on tech over the last maybe decade.
Yeah.
Which then the knock-on effect is a little less, confidence building in hands-on skills.
Right.
One of the things that I've been hearing recently is that younger generation going into the academy, they have less of a skill set with interaction as they're really tied into technology interaction.
Yeah.
But that also is limited, the technology interactions limited kind of that schoolyard, fist fights we used to have when we were growing up, and then you go on your way. But a lot of cops coming into the profession have never been punched in the face.
Nope. Sure, sorry.
So they've never experienced that physical action of violence before. How challenging is that to teach that to somebody that's not experienced that?
It's actually not that difficult to help train somebody to get into those uncomfortable positions.
Okay.
Once they have demonstrated a willingness to do it, then as a trainer, the onus is on me to do it in a progressive, systematic way where they're not going to get hurt, but also they won't become gun shy to want to get into a next fight. If we put a set of boxing gloves on somebody and say put a mouthpiece in, grit down on a mouthpiece, and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, we may not have the positive effect that we have, right? But if we build that in a progressive manner, let people be okay with being uncomfortable and understand that it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable with something.
Right.
The more we do it, the more comfortable we become with it, and then it becomes natural. Then it becomes part of our DNA.
And something that I've experienced in the trainings that I do is they want to be there. They want to learn, right? And so they're open. It's trying to get the ones that are on the sidelines, right? Or trying to pull them in to say, hey, look, this is better. They know it's beneficial, right? But it's like you said, it's that concern of actually showing that, maybe I'm not so good at this. And instead of just owning that and saying, hey, I want to get better, there's a reluctance to step in the
hesitation, right? For sure. There is. And I think the majority versus the minority, right?
Yeah.
If the majority are owning it and, they're getting after it, they're sweating, they're bleeding, on the fringe, the minority, they're going to see they have two choices. They can either get in on it, get better at it, or they're going to be left behind.
Right.
Yeah. They're going to be in the back burner. Right. And maybe they'll find employment someplace else. Well, they could be value at it, but maybe, just maybe, this particular wheelhouse might not be the fit for them.
Exactly. And it's an interesting thing. We a lot of experience, unfortunately, in the active shooter world, right? And kind of talk about we're going to stop the killing, stop the dying, start the healing. Those are kind of those three things that are at the forefront.
Right.
And we understand it to its core. And after some maybe failures in the States and ridicule that's come down, there's this huge fear of what's coming my way. What's the lawsuit going to be? Am I going to be in trouble? The optics. Instead of doing what we know we should be doing, we start to get concerned about the optics. And I think in a lot of our trainings, that's hard to switch the gears on those individuals. Right.
Yeah, that hesitation between what's going on between our ears, then once we've made that decision, then actioning that decision, that hesitation causes delay. As the delay, sometimes the cause of that delay is the fear of what will happen. If I do my job, will I get in trouble?
Right.
If I don't do my job, what will happen either to me or my teammates? The way that I see a fix to that or a solution to that is trust. Like heaven and trust doesn't, as you know, we don't just give trust.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
It's groundless through time.
Right.
If we have, a specific chain of command, for example, that we have trust has got our top cover. We know that they're going to do whatever they can to help protect us. In turn, that chain of command, whoever it might be, they trust that the officer is going to make a wise decision. We're human beings. We make mistakes from time to time. But if that trust is a two-way street where boss trusts me that I'm going to do my job, I feel more confident in doing my job.
Right.
Where the chain of command says, we've trained this guy or this group of people the way that we need to. I trust they're going to make a wise decision.
Yeah.
So that trust is a two-way street.
Yes, it is.
And if there is a falter in the foundation of trust, be difficult. There's going to be blocks. There's going to be hesitation in making that decision, or the fear of, well, I get shopping. Am I doing the right thing?
Right. We see it all the time. When we do our leadership stuff, we talk about, kind of 3 responsibilities from the leadership, which I think helps develop the trust. And that's, the first part is, getting our guys prepared for the job. That's the mindset, the training, the tactics, the tools, the understanding, right? A solid foundation, whether that's case law, whatever it is. That's that solid foundation that lets them operate with fidelity when they're in whatever dynamic arena they're at. The next step, and I just want your opinion on this to see, if you can add something or you can disagree with me, that's fine too. But the next part is, and this is where I think we start to fail. We talk about, in my opinion, the weakest link in law enforcement is that the executive leadership, as far as what are we actually doing? How are we handling the community? How are we handling our officers? What are we actually doing, developing? And that second part is being present during the event to make sure that they have the resources, not a wallflower in the command post that's just kind of over here, but actually involved, and then standing forward, calming the community down, tell everybody, hey, we're going to look at this, but let's take a breath. Let's wait till the facts come out, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think we see a lot of that. We have that, then we have more fidelity with the troops because they know, hey, listen, this guy's got my back. He's going to stand, and if you do something wrong, you're going to be held accountable. It just is what it is, right? For sure. But let's let that figure of the agency actually be present and have their officers back immediately, right? Until all the facts are out. Not, in a frivolous way, but in a way that the community understands where they're and their officer knows that, hey, we're going to wait. We're not going to get prejudged. And then the third prong is not necessarily about this, but that's getting them through the rest of their career. Yeah. Having a platform there that allow, they're going to run to their desks for command. You say, we're going to go do this. They're going to, I owe it to you now to have something in place to help you get through the rest of your career, whatever that is, mental stuff, the physical stuff, and continue the training and continue to be progressive so that we can deal with whatever's coming our way. And that's kind of the 3 things when we're talking leadership, right? And I think if we're strong there, our officers, our members have more fidelity in what's going on and allows them to operate a little more freely and do what needs to be done. I think that's lacking, though, in a lot of places.
Well, in some cases, and some, like, we've all probably been exposed to really good leaders, and we've been exposed to ones that are, maybe shouldn't be.
Right.
What I've noticed in terms of focusing on the positive, like, what are the positive takeaways? What I've noticed with really good leaders, they have a few things in common, but one that stands out to me is the good leaders that I've had a great opportunity to work with, they're good listeners as much as they are good communicators. So they're not always talking at you. Sometimes they're on receive mode. And to me, that is an exemplification of they're trying to find the facts.
Right.
Not prejudge too soon based on somebody's, decision on whatever it is that they did, but instead trying to seek the facts, based on the facts, then make the determination. Okay, maybe the officer slipped up here, or decision here. Okay, that's not the end of it. We're human beings. We're going to make mistakes. How do we?
It's fixable. Yeah.
Where patterns of behavior sometimes, pattern of behavior that is replicated over time, that's not necessarily a person problem. It could be the behavior's problem. But when it's repetitive, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. So in other words, if this happens a one-off, let's not jump too quickly to change in policy because of a one-time.
Right.
Now, this is a repeated behavior, and we should probably deal with that and address it. So that's kind of the way I look at it in terms of good leadership or poor leadership. Not too quickly judge, but at the same time, whatever decision is made off of facts, not perception.
Let's take a break for a minute.
Yeah.
In my career, I've responded to 7 school shootings. And I've learned a couple of things along the way. Through a Secret Service study done just a couple of years ago, we've learned that 70% of all guns used in school shootings come from the home. We can fix that. We can change that. All it takes is securing the gun, securing the firearm that's protecting you, will protect our kids, protect our schools. We can make that change. All we have to do is go safe. Do you primarily work with individual officers or agencies, or is it a combination thereof?
It's a combination. I would say over the last 9 months, probably 60% of who I'm involved with is policing organizations. So I will go to them to provide training, whether it's 2 days up to 5 days. That's about 60% law enforcement, probably about 20% to military, and then about 20% to general public who, they just see what's going on in the world. They're very aware, and they just want to be a little bit better prepared.
Do you have a cadre, or is it your sole operating training?
So right now I have a few guys that will help me out with contracts from time to time. So depending on the complexity of the contract, it's ED night vision, for example, I need a few extra sets of eyes to help me out, for sure. If the group size is small, we want to focus on defensive topics, I might take that one myself. But yeah, I'm in the process now of building a little bit more depth on the bench. So we have some guys that we can lean on.
It's hard.
It's always a process.
It is. And, I'm very aware that I'm protective of the product.
And trust me, I get it, buddy.
And, just handing this out to anybody, we talk a little bit about the trust. There are guys, for sure, who I used to work with, I trust wholeheartedly.
Right.
But either they're not in a position to come on board yet, or they're interested, but they're not confident in what I'm delivering. So for me to just give it to them, and then they do whatever they want with it, I'll be honest, I'm just a little bit hesitant.
I'm right there with you. I get asked all the time, hey, why don't you do some train-the-trainer stuff? And it's hard.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where it's going to morph. You don't know where it's going to go. Is it delivered with the same passion and intent? And,
I would much rather keep my product high and my course rollouts small. That way I know what they're getting, and I get a chance to build rapport with each one that's on the receiving end, get to know them on a first name basis, find out if they've got family.
Right.
When the groups are small, you can do that.
No.
When the groups get large, sometimes you might spend 5 days with somebody, and at the end of those 5 days, you may not even know what's
Exactly.
How many do you typically train at once?
Typically a group size that I'm comfortable with is 12.
Okay.
That's a good number. Let's get a number out. Yeah, we'll go as high as 20 with some of our active shooter stuff, but that starts to get tough, especially with range work, and it becomes
all the logistics that go along with that. Yes, the bigger the number, the more complicated it becomes, which is okay. But then for me, what's not okay is the quality. If the quality starts to get watered down, to me, that's not okay.
Yeah. No, because you want them to be. You're here for a purpose, right? To help them do their job and keep them alive. Ultimately, right? That's what we want. Keep them alive and keep the suspects alive when appropriate, right? Which is 99% of the time, right? And that's what I think sometimes people lose sight of, that when an event kicks off and there is that chaos, the faster we calm it, not only is that good for the officer, it's also good for the suspect.
And good for the public.
And the public, totally, right? And so we lose sight of that, and trying to refocus that sometimes can be problematic, but I think intuitively the officers know it.
I think so too, yeah. And I think you nailed it on the head earlier when you mentioned they want to be there. They've chosen that lifestyle. They've chosen that profession. So subconsciously, very consciously, they've made that decision to get to that arena, so that they have good intentions. For the most, of course, it's going to be the small percentage that, maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe they just want to carry a gun. Maybe they just want to, the stigma that goes along with that, whatever that might be. Those are small, very small. I'm not focused on those folks as much as focused on the lots of good, positive intentions.
Right. And if the process is right, and if the agency is right, and they're paying attention to that, those individuals get weeded out. If right, like you said, you're paying attention to those patterns, what's taking place, what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Eventually, those get weeded out, or you're seeing. Well, for me, it's a little bit discouraging, because we used to, I think, have a lot of really high standards bringing individuals into the agency. And right now in Canada, it's probably the same, but we're at a crisis in the States filling jobs. Yep. And so you start to see agencies where they lower those standards. Yep. And history's told us
Yeah.
what happens, right, when we start to lower those standards, and then we ramp what we sow.
That is problematic, and it's tough when there's seats to be filled, but there's just not enough people to fill those seats. It is tough, especially at the higher hierarchy where you need to be able to put officers in cars and get the word on the train. Staff when they're not there. The way I look at it, I would much rather have 10 high quality 10 as opposed to 20 who are potentially liabilities.
Right.
And make poor decisions and motivated by the wrong thing.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion. That's tough to fill those spots, but at the risk of lowering standards, we're going to get a lower quality output. So it's like a risk assessment. We're saying it's okay to lower the standard. We have to be okay with the ramifications and consequences that come with that.
Right. Absolutely.
And what is it that you always say? Every decision has a ramification.
Yeah. Without question. Right?
Sometimes it's to our detriment.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that too much around our country right now. So.
It's so different here.
Yeah.
So different. Yeah, I see.
But I do see, I see this, which is inspiring, right? This desire from the cops that are out there that they want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing. And if leadership can give them that platform to say, hey, they eat it up.
Yeah.
They eat it up.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I've been so fortunate over the last little while when these services bring me in for whatever that training is. The chain of command, they all say they believe in it.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't approve the funding.
Exactly.
Their time. And then the guys that show up to these courses, you can tell they are engaged. There's lots to be there. They're true professionals.
Right.
And if they get that one little nugget that makes them 10% better.
Yeah.
They light right up. It's me that gives me purpose and that fires me up. Makes me
Well, that one nugget save a life, their life, and that's
the change.
Huge.
I agree. And if they do 2 days together, we all do 2 days together or 3 days together, but it happens to be that one nugget, that one aha moment that maybe gets them out of a sticky situation. To me, that's gravy.
Yeah. Right. That's the purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Making everybody better, trying to lift them up. That's so it's all about.
It's pretty cool too, working with some of the technical professionals where they have confidence to push back.
Yeah.
So if something isn't connecting with them, I love it. Like, I don't know about that.
Right.
Okay, let's walk that dog.
Yeah.
Let's find out if we can connect with why we're doing well.
Exactly. I enjoy those conversations as well.
The two of you seem to have a very similar training style, I have to say. I'm not a tactical guy, but I've been through his course 32 times.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot.
And you want to be challenged, right? Yeah. Okay. I did something wrong that I'm not connecting with you, right? So instead of having let's go down range, let's walk through it. Let's walk through it. Let's see. And, and boom, typically that's what gets them going, right?
I love it. Yeah. Like, ask for feedback at the end of the day. Go, oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah. Right.
It wasn't all off. It must have been something I didn't connect with you. And the way I look at it as an instructor, if this person didn't get a certain thing, that's not a them fault. That's a me. Right. I got to figure out a way to connect with that people. Right. Maybe they're more kinesthetic learner. Maybe they're more, analytical.
Yes.
I need to figure that out. That's not a them fault. That's a me on the delivery side. I got to sort that out.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to hit all those areas, the cognitive, the emotional, and the biomechanic, and make sure that stays fluid and then again, I quit arguing tactics years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago. And we look at the world maybe a little bit different, kind of in the active shooter realm of, we're not running down hallways, jumping in rooms anymore, seeing who wins, right? We're threshold assessing, fighting smarter, staying, low profile. And guys will go through it and they're like, why haven't I been doing this the last 20 years?
Yeah.
And the science behind it proves it.
Right.
You go to, Force Science or some of these other entities, right? Or like, the science is there. It's letting them have the arena to be able to do that. And as soon as they experience it,
the
empowerment level is crazy, and the confidence, and you see it go up, And I'm sure you're experiencing that as well.
And it's great when you set up a scenario that is as realistic as we can possibly make it, and it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
That's where we learn, right? So if we don't give them that arena, we don't give them that platform to make mistakes,
right?
We'll rob them of an opportunity.
Without question, right? Yeah. Let them fail there. Let them learn there, so that now when we're out on the street, right, we learn those lessons. And it's never the same, right? It's always a little bit different, but it's that OODA loop, that orientation phase as an instructor that you have so much power, right? To kind of create the synapse in the brain of what's going on. They kind of recognize the situation allows them to perform better.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's funny too, like you've probably seen it before where on a scenario, I know we're up at the situation where you watch somebody perform and it looks like they're frozen. It looks like they have no ability to make a decision. And sometimes as an instructor, I've been guilty of it. Like, this guy is right. What's going on? And maybe that's accurate because he has no reference point. He has to experience that. That's not his.
Exactly.
It's up to us to help us. This young man, this young lady, or if they looks like they're frozen, it looks like they're unable to make a decision because they don't have any reference point. I haven't seen it before.
Right. Yeah. So much power in that. So, and we've gotten to the point where in our active shooter stuff where we videotape everybody. And so as soon as we're done, we can start to talk to them a little, let them decompress a sec. But then they get to watch themselves, right? And so now we can kind of walk through. And if we have failure points, let's go back. Let's work on those, right? Let's work on those, become a little bit more comfortable in what we're doing. And again, it's you've experienced this, right? It kind of gives you a purpose of, hey, yeah,
Really?
Right? Letting these guys get a little bit better, right? I mean, learn from our mistakes, all this stuff that we've done, right? You have to relearn it. Here, let's go. Now, fortunately, in law enforcement, we're constantly relearning the same things, right? But there's it's
subtle changes rather than trying to make gross changes and reinvent the wheel completely. It's kind of like a polished set of boots. It's already shiny.
Yeah,
we're just gonna put a light coat on.
It's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Where do you see the next decade for your business going?
Sure. Next decade, what I'm really focused on now is building a fixed location. So building a brick and mortar indoor range with an ET space. So
Him and I, we're like in the same place, buddy.
I'm just listening to you or he's talking. So
yeah, like I love doing what I'm doing. I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah.
Ontario is huge. The footprint is huge. So you may drive literally 16 hours to ride 2 days of training and then 15 hours to get back. So if I can provide something for these officers to come to direct action, fixed location, indoors, so whether it's -30 outside, freezing cold, plus snow, or +30, it's not a factor. Snow will not be the limiting factor in train. So that's where I'm in the beginning stages now of finding that space. What does it look like? Completely 360, shoot house with a DT component and bring the guys in and run scenarios. That's my goal.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
It was awesome.
Yeah, for you. It's good work. It's honorable work.
What we say, right? I'm my brother's keeper. I'm my sister's keeper. The only way you can do that is to help, right? And share your knowledge.
Yeah, like
go forward.
And it may sound a little bit corny, but that's okay. Like I dedicated 21 years to serve the country. And I loved every minute of it being in uniform. And then when I decided to move on, it wasn't because I was bitter. It wasn't because I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I just felt like the potential that I have to provide for even more. So in service, it's just in a different realm. I feel like I'm more valuable at it now than I even was.
Without question.
Sometimes it's a hard transition to get to that point to realize that you can do something different, still be relevant in what you do, still be bigger than what you did, have a bigger impact. But that's a mind shift.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard.
We adopt, people talk about the growth mindset. What does that look like? What does that mean? To me, the way I look at it is the learning, there is no finish line. So every time I have an opportunity to provide training, what some of the guys don't even realize is I'm learning from them as well. There's little nuggets of wisdom.
Every class.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that is brilliant.
Right.
Yeah. So learning, there's no finish line.
You have learned about tactical people in my career is that they're lifelong learners. Good tactical people are lifelong learners with a passion for learning. And then that often translates to a passion for educating and instruction because you're just as part of who you are, your DNA, you want to give back.
It'd be unfortunate. I walk out that door 10 minutes from now, I get hit by a bus. That's it. DA defunct. I'm on. Everything that's in between these years is lost. right? So we only have a finite amount of time to share those experiences, to help other people out. Every day is a new day to give back, to connect with one other person, or be a positive influence on somebody's outlook on what it is they're doing as a profession.
Yeah. It's that thought process of trying to make those around you better than you were. Right? You accomplish that, you're accomplishing big things.
I think so, yeah.
Now, talk to me a little bit about your mentorship stuff that you're doing.
Sure. It's pretty unique, and where it is now. I think, to be honest, COVID was a bit of a blessing in disguise because it forced me to pivot because nobody was training.
Yeah, no,
Get away from the country. So what I made myself available was reach out to video tutorials with young men who are interested in going to GTF or one of the other organizations. So they'd reach out, ask questions, and I realized, like, man, I have something for these young men. And it's not just about how to prepare mentally, it's how to prepare physically, how to prepare spiritually, how to really commit to doing what it is that you want to do. And yeah, so the mentorship stuff, it's really unique, and I absolutely love it. Well, I've had people literally from across the country, reach out to me and have a question about this or that, the other thing. We connect online, and it's kind of like this. It's just a fluid conversation where what I realize is just sharing experiences. So, this is what I did. I would have done this a little bit differently, maybe a little less of that,
right?
More of that.
Right. Yeah, and it's that unique interaction, because what I need is going to be different than maybe what you need, different than what John needs, right? And the ability to have that unique interaction and provide that direction and information.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's exactly like that. Once you start to build rapport with that person that's on the other side of the camera and find out, what they have, what they need, what their limitations are, what their strengths are, then build relationships.
Yes.
It is a relationship business.
Yeah.
Totally.
From
we say
start to end.
Yeah.
So cool.
Do you ever travel and train in the States?
I'm trying to. So last year I was requested in a organization called the Lab Training Center in Michigan.
Okay.
So I was requested to go down there and provide some training for 4 different SWAT organizations that were going to come together. So we're going to do a couple of days on the range, some tactics of carbine, a couple of days DT related stuff, and then a couple of days of CQ related.
That's exciting.
So super excited. What happened though is the cross-border relationship, I guess you could say, getting into the States as a Canadian. What they wanted to know is why, as an Indian coming to provide services, why is it not an American? So long story short, when I applied for my temporary work visa, when we had the date scheduled, the visa didn't come in time, and there was a lot of red tape with traveling across the border with my guns.
Oh, yeah.
ATF were involved, cross-border services were involved, the embassy, the American embassy in Ottawa was also. It was a little bit more convoluted than I really.
It's harder than people think.
Yeah. So long story short, that time period had coming on. Long story short, we're still trying to get it off the ground, but it hasn't been as efficient as I can be.
Yeah, and those are hard, and those are big beasts and a lot of red tape, and it's gets discouraging for sure.
Yeah,
but
it does. Like, I'm certainly open to it, and I would love the opportunities to connect with some American folks doing very similar stuff. But to be honest, if it doesn't come to fruition, a little bit disappointing, yeah, but I do believe it will happen. It's just a matter of getting those parameters in place, filling out proper paperwork, talking to the right people.
Right.
I do believe it'll eventually get there.
I was just at the Michigan Tactical Officers Association last week, and I've done a couple of things for them over the years, but just a great group of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they just want to be better.
Yeah.
It's like all of them.
Like all of them.
They just want to be better, and so we always say, right, as soon as you think you're it, as soon as you run a perfect operation, quit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you just become a hazard. Right?
Yeah, there's 3 words I try real hard not to implement into my vocabulary very often. Always, never, or perfect.
Exactly.
Two things careful.
Never say never, never say always. How many times you heard me say that? Right?
And perfect, in my opinion, does not exist.
It does work.
So I mean, for excellence, but perfect is always an area to always celebrate, right?
Yeah, you'll go in and listen to some of these after action reviews, and there's no critique. There's no comments, and you'll pull that commander aside or the team leader and say, "Hey guys, there's got to be something here, right? That we can work on to get a little bit better, right? Because at the end of the day, suspect always has a say, right? He always has a say, or shooting, whatever it is, right? And I think we have the best plan in the world, and changes that fast.
Until that thing happens that we did.
You get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. It's just been an honor and a pleasure. We can never do anything to help you.
Yeah, without question.
I'm trying to think of ways.
I do. My mind is spinning.
That too.
My mind is spinning. And even if it just is in that DT realm, right? Because that's easy to get you down. And, even if, say, we're bringing you down for, a 1 or 2 day seminar or speaking, that red tape, I think, is a lot easier.
Yeah.
This, same thing for me, trying to come up here. I know I'm not even going to try to bring guns. It just becomes, and vice versa. So,
which is, it's wild. Then, like, we have good intent.
Yes. What we're doing,
where we're
exactly, and where we're going to be, and what we're doing.
when we're going back.
Nobody else does.
We're on the good side.
We're daring to be different.
It's crazy. Well, any last words of wisdom or anything you want to share?
Oh man, words of wisdom. Advice I would give to anybody is like, this is what I share with a lot of people. We only have a finite amount of time to train. So when we decide to train, be all in. Be where your feet are. Be in the moment for the duration of that hour or 2 hours or whatever it might be. Because once it's gone, I'm not getting it back.
Right. It's true. Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure. Now you don't have a drink, and all we got is water. So you're gonna pretend, because we always do it. We always close out our podcasts with a toast. We do need some shots over here. In fact, they're getting ready for the run, so there's gonna be some stuff over there, right? Which will be nice tonight.
All right,
we'll do it for real. But this toast, and you've probably heard this before in your career, but goes back to the Roman legions. It's been translated over and over again. Very, very simple, but I think it's very appropriate, especially with you sitting here at the table. So to us and those like us, the Centurions, damn few left.
Damn few left.